There comes a moment in your life when you feel a shift deep inside. You're tired of playing small. You're done explaining yourself. You're ready to evolve, to grow, to take back control. But here's the truth. Real change doesn't begin with the world watching. Real change starts in silence. Quiet, focused, intentional. If you truly want to transform your life, then you've got to protect your energy, your goals, your mind. And that starts with understanding what to keep private, because not everything is meant to be shared. Let's talk about the 7 things you must keep private if you're serious about changing your life. You've got a vision, a dream that won't let you sleep, a feeling deep down that you are meant for something more, and maybe you've finally decided to go after it. Maybe you're ready to start that bussy, lose the weight, break the habit, or rebuild your life. You're fired up, excited, and naturally you want to tell people. You want to talk about what you're planning to do. But here's what you need to understand. That energy you're feeling right now, that drive, it's precious. And if you're not careful, you'll waste it. Talking about your goals tricks your brain. Science shows that when you speak your intentions out loud, especially if people respond with praise or encouragement, your brain releases dopamine. That's the same reward chemical you get when you actually achieve something. But here's the catch. You didn't do anything. You just talked about it, and now your brain feels like the job is already done. That's dangerous because it makes you complacent. It convinces you that you're making progress when really you've just given yourself a premature pat on the back. That's why you need to keep your next move to yourself, not because you're hiding, not because you're being secretive, but because you are protecting your vision. You are holding it close so it can grow roots before anyone else gets their hands on it. When you're in the early stages of change, your confidence is fragile. The smallest doubt, the wrong comment, or a dismissive laugh from someone you love can derail your momentum. And that's not because you're weak, it's because you're human. Change is vulnerable. And the beginning is always the most fragile part of the process. Think of your dream like a seed. You plant it in the soil, water it, and it begins to sprout. But it's still underground, still invisible. You don't dig it up every day to show people it's growing. You let it stay hidden while it gets stronger. You trust the process. That's what you need to do with your next move. Protect it, nurture it. Let it grow in silence. Another reason to keep your plans private is that the world has opinions, and they're not always helpful. When you tell people your goals, you're inviting their beliefs into your life. And let's be honest, most people aren't operating from a place of confidence. They're projecting their own fears, their own insecurities, their own limitations. You tell them you want to start a business and they'll say, what if it fails? You say you're going to quit your job and travel and they'll say that's irresponsible. Not because they want to hurt you, but because they can't imagine doing it themselves. Here's the truth. Not everyone deserves access to your vision. Well, everyone can see what you see, and they don't have to. It's not their job to believe in you. It's yours. And that belief, your self-trust, gets built in the doing, not the talking. Every early morning, every small win, every quiet step you take forward, that's where the confidence grows. So if you're serious about changing your life, start by doing one thing. Zip it. Stop announcing and start executing. Let people wonder what you're up to. Let your results speak for themselves. There will come a time to share your journey. But right now is the time to shut the door, put your head down, and do the work. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You need action. Silence is not weakness. It's strength. It's strategy. It's power. There's this myth that sharing your struggles with everyone is brave, that posting your pain, venting your frustration, and talking constantly about what you're going through is a form of healing. But the truth? That's not always healing. Sometimes it's leaking. When you're trying to change your life, the last thing you need is to leak your energy into people who can't hold it, don't understand it, or worse, judge it. Your personal struggles are sacred, not public content. They're part of your story, yes, but they're still unfolding, and you owe it to yourself to protect that space. Look, life hits hard. Maybe you've lost someone. Maybe you're deep in debt. Maybe you're battling addiction, anxiety, or the weight of years of self-doubt. Whatever it is, that pain is real. It deserves to be acknowledged. But not by everyone. Not every conversation is safe. Not every listener is equipped to hold your vulnerability with care. And when you put your wounds out into the world too early, before they've had a chance to begin healing, you risk having them poked at by people who don't understand, or worse, who don't care. This isn't about shame. It's about strength. Strength isn't the absence of struggle. It's how you choose to carry it. It's knowing that just because you're going through something hard doesn't mean it belongs on display. You are not obligated to explain yourself. You don't need to prove your pain. You are allowed to process in silence. In fact, sometimes that's exactly what you need. There's a difference between processing and performing. One is intentional, the other is reactive. Processing your struggles means getting honest with yourself, seeking professional help if needed, confiding in one or two people you trust deeply. Performing your pain, on the other hand, often comes from a place of wanting validation, wanting someone to say, "I see you," because deep down you feel invisible. That's human. We all want to be seen. But here's the catch. If you're constantly looking outward for understanding, you're giving away your power. Real healing happens inward. It happens when you sit with yourself and say, "This is hard, but I'm not going to break." It happens in therapy sessions, in journal pages, in quiet walks where you let the tears fall and still choose to keep going. It happens when you stop waiting for someone to rescue you and decide to show up for yourself. That's where the breakthrough lives. Not in a post, not in a rant. In the quiet decision to face your storm head on and come out stronger. People will try to give you advice. They'll tell you how they would handle it, what they think you should do. But they're not you. They haven't lived your story. And sometimes their opinions, though well-meaning, can set you back, especially when you're vulnerable, especially when you're just starting to claw your way out of something dark. So guard your pain like it's gold, because, in a way, it is. Your struggles shape you. They're molding you into someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate, but they can only do that if you protect the process. Don't rush to narrate your breakdown while you're still inside it. Wait. Heal. And when you're on the other side, when you've built the lessons, the strength, the clarity, that's when you can share. Not from a place of pain, but from power. Not from the wound, but from the scar. Right now, you don't need an audience. You need awareness, you need courage, you need quiet. Let yourself be the safe space you've been searching for. You are allowed to be a work in progress without broadcasting the chaos. Your struggle isn't your identity, it's a chapter. And it will pass, but only if you let yourself live it fully, privately, and with the fierce belief that you are not broken, you're becoming, doing good in the world, being kind, generous, showing up for people. These are some of the most powerful things you can do to build a life that feels purposeful and grounded. But here's something a lot of people get wrong. They think every good deed needs an audience, that if nobody sees it, if it doesn't make it to social media, if there isn't applause or praise or recognition, then it somehow didn't matter. That couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, the most impactful acts of kindness are the ones done in silence, in the shadows, when nobody's watching. Because they come from your integrity, not your ego. You don't need to tell the world every time you help someone. You don't need to post photos of your generosity or announce how kind you were to the barista or share screenshots of the message you sent to lift someone up. Doing so can quickly shift the intention. Suddenly, it's not about the person you're helping, it's about you being seen as a good person. That shift might be subtle, but it matters. It changes the energy behind your actions. It makes them less about service and more about validation. Here's the hard truth. If your kindness requires recognition to feel worth it, it's not kindness, it's performance. And when you perform goodness instead of practicing it quietly, you rob yourself of one of life's most powerful sources of self-respect, the ability to live in alignment with your values, whether or not anybody ever notices. There is an incredible strength in being someone who shows up, who gives, who supports, without ever needing a round of applause. Some of the most life-changing moments for others will come from things you do that they'll never even know you did. That money you slipped into a donation box. That time you forgave someone without making them beg for it. That moment you chose not to clap back at someone out of respect for their struggle. These things matter. They ripple. They make a difference. And you don't need to publicize them to validate their power. It's also important to understand that sharing every good deed you do can backfire. Not everyone is going to celebrate your generosity. Some will question your motives. Some will mock your actions. Others will turn your kindness into gossip or jealousy. And suddenly, something that was meant to be pure becomes tainted by other people's opinions. You don't need that energy in your space. Protect the sanctity of your goodness by keeping it quiet. That's how you build a strong moral foundation, when your actions are guided by your character, not your need for credit. You also create deeper change when you give quietly. Think about it. When someone helps you without expecting anything in return, when they do it humbly, anonymously, it hits different. It restores your faith in people. It inspires you to pay it forward. That's the kind of energy the world needs more of. Not grand gestures, not viral moments, but quiet, consistent, intentional goodness. Keeping your good deeds private is not about hiding your light. It's about making sure your light is fueled by authenticity. Because that's where true growth comes from. When you live with integrity behind closed doors, you build unshakable self-worth. You don't need anyone to validate you. You validate yourself by knowing the kind of person you are. So if you really want to change your life, start by shifting your focus. Don't ask, who saw what I did today? Ask, was I true to who I want to be today? Let your character, not your image, be your legacy. Do good. Say nothing. And let that quiet strength shape the life you're building. Your relationships are some of the most intimate, meaningful parts of your life. They are the connections that influence how you see yourself, how you move through the world, and how supported or unsupported you feel. And yet, in today's culture of oversharing, it's become almost normal to put your relationship on display. Every sweet moment, every fight, every decision gets turned into content. But if you truly want to change your life, if you want to grow, to evolve, to create deeper, more authentic relationships, you must learn to keep them private. Privacy isn't about secrecy. It's about protection. It's about creating a sacred space between you and another person where real connection can grow, free from the noise of outside opinions. Because the moment you invite the world into that space, you give it permission to shape your relationship, often in ways that do more harm than good. People love to judge. They love to give advice. They love to assume they know what's best for you. But they're not in your shoes. They don't see the full picture. And their input, however well-meaning, can create cracks where there should be trust. When you're constantly posting your romantic moments, your friendships, your private conversations, you start to live for the reaction. You start curating your relationship to be impressive, not authentic. That pressure can be subtle at first. Let's take a cute photo, or we should post this. But over time, it becomes a performance. The relationship becomes about how it looks, not how it feels. And that is dangerous. Because the moment you feel like you need to prove your connection to others, you start losing the realness of it. On the flip side, when things go wrong, and they will at some point, oversharing can do even more damage. Maybe you argue. Maybe you're struggling. Maybe you're figuring out whether to stay or leave. The world does not need to know. Not because your pain isn't real, but because healing happens faster and more cleanly when it's not being watched and judged. Once you start inviting others into those moments, you also invite their emotions into the situation. Friends take sides. Strangers comment. People remember things you've long moved past. And suddenly your relationship becomes a public narrative instead of a private journey. If you're trying to change your life, to build something new, stronger, more fulfilling, you need space to grow without the weight of other people's expectations. That includes your relationships. You need room to figure things out, to be imperfect, to learn, to stumble, to get back up, all without feeling like you're being watched or scored. That's how trust is built. That's how intimacy is strengthened, not by exposure, but by intention. This applies not just to romantic relationships, but to friendships, family, business partnerships, anything built on connection and trust. The more you protect those bonds, the stronger they become. When you stop feeling the need to share every detail, you start being present. You listen more. You understand more. You feel more. And that's when transformation happens. Changing your life means choosing what matters most. It means being intentional with your energy and attention. It means creating boundaries that allow you to show up fully for the people in your life, not the audience watching your life. So let your relationships be sacred. Let them exist in a space that isn't for everyone. Hold them close, protect them, and honor. Tell them with the privacy they deserve. It's not hiding. That's honoring the people you care about. And yourself. You don't owe the world an explanation. You owe the people you love your presence, not your performance. Let them feel safe, not exposed. Let them feel seen, not showcased. That's how real, lasting, life-changing connection is built. Money is one of the most emotional and misunderstood areas of our lives. It holds power not just in the world, but over our sense of identity, our self-worth, our confidence. That's why, if you're serious about changing your life, one of the most important things you can do is keep your financial life private. Whether you're winning or struggling, talking too much about your money, how much you have, how much you're making, what you're spending, can distract you from your goals, expose you to unnecessary judgment, and invite energy that doesn't serve your progress. Let's be honest, money makes people act weird. For some, it triggers comparison. For others, it creates jealousy. For some, it brings out entitlement. And the moment you start openly discussing your financial situation, whether good or bad, you give people a lens through which to judge you, and often they will. If you're doing well, people may assume you're arrogant or lucky, or undeserving. If you're struggling, they may pity you, question your decisions, or quietly gossip behind your back. None of that energy helps you grow. None of it contributes to your progress. Your financial goals should be your business. They are deeply personal and should be treated with the respect and seriousness they deserve. Whether you're trying to pay off debt, build savings, invest, or completely transform your money habits, you need focus. And focus requires silence. When you constantly talk about your financial plans, what you're going to buy, how much you've saved, the side hustle you're starting, you risk getting stuck in the trap of performing instead of producing. You start to get validation not from real progress, and that is a dangerous place to be. One of the most powerful things you can do is move in silence financially. Let people wonder. Let your lifestyle remain simple. Let your focus be so sharp that you're not chasing applause, you're chasing alignment. Financial growth isn't about looking rich. It's about being free. Free from debt, free from stress, free from the pressure to keep up with others. And you don't get there by broadcasting your income or your plans. You get there by being disciplined behind the scenes. You get there by budgeting when no one is watching, by skipping the unnecessary purchases, by making sacrifices that others might not understand. That kind of discipline doesn't need to be explained. It needs to be protected. Even the people closest to you may not fully understand your financial journey. That's okay. They don't have to. If you're building something better, if you're trying to change your habits, if you're healing from a history of financial chaos or scarcity, you're doing important, life-changing work. But it's also delicate. And when something is delicate, you don't expose it to the elements. You nurture it. You give it time and care and privacy to grow strong. You keep your eyes on your own paper and your energy on your own path. Money should be a tool, not a trophy. It's not about showing off what you have. It's about creating the life you want. And the truth is, the more people know about your financial life, the more likely you are to lose control of it, not because they'll take it from you, but because they'll distract you. They'll pull your attention into places it doesn't need to be. So protect your financial peace. Don't feel the need to explain why you're downsizing, or why you're saying no to dinner, or why you're choosing to invest instead of spend. You're not behind. You're not less than. You're focused. And that quiet focus, that's what builds wealth. That's what creates freedom. Not the kind that looks good on Instagram, the kind that lets you sleep at night. Keep it private. Keep it yours. And watch what happens. Your next move is no one's business but yours. In a world obsessed with announcing, posting, planning out loud, and sharing every single intention before it's even taken shape, keeping your goals and future plans private is one of the smartest, most empowering things you can do. If you want to change your life, stop talking about what you're going to do and start doing it. In silence, in focus, in full control of your energy. Here's the truth. Most people don't actually care about your plans the way you think they do. Some will be indifferent. Some will pretend to support you while secretly doubting you. Others may project their fears onto you. They'll say, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Or, "That's risky," or, "What if it doesn't work?" And if you're not grounded in your own conviction,